All right. Good afternoon, folks. Hope you're doing all right today. Good morning. Good evening. Hello, world. Where you at? I'm excited to hang out with you here today on this chilly Sunday. We're going to be working on some things here. And you see my cheat sheet here as I get moving. A couple things that I'm going to be working on today. One is our sous chef.ai that got underway a little bit earlier this week. Got to work on the dark mode for that one. It's a little bit wonky there. And we're going to work on something called margin call, so aid to book writers. So we're going to get into it here, but before I dive in deep, I'm just going to check all my streams to make sure that I am clear and you guys can see me and we can all hang out today. I'm going to pop over to YouTube and just make sure that I am live there. And if you're joining me here today, uh, say hi in the chat. Let's tell me what you think about what we're working on, and tell me if what you are seeing is something that makes sense, or if you need some more explanation here. But we'll go ahead and start working. So these two apps are new since we went live last Sunday. I have this ability to find problems that I suffer from and think about the business that I would start to solve that problem if I could start a business, and anybody can start a business. So that's the way my brain works. It's very solutions oriented, very much driven around all of uh, all of the things that make it sustainable as a business. So it makes income, it can pay people, it doesn't upend industries entirely and steal a bunch of jobs. So I'll talk a little bit about the business case for these two guys here. But before I get into it too deep, I'm going to pop over to studio.willmelton.com and turn your attention to this. You have on this website all of the apps that I'm working on. I have not added the latest from the weekend here, but we will get these added here and this weekend at some point because they'll be in a position to tell a little bit more about them. If you're new, put your email address and name in here and subscribe for updates. And we will make sure that you get into our referral program. I have set it up so that if you send somebody my way for an app purchase or investment, there are finder's fees or introductory fees that we will pay you to connect us to folks who are interested in making investments or maybe purchasing one of these businesses. I'll tell you a little bit about how these are set up as we get into it today so that folks know what it is that potentially they could be buying. But we will have an auction in February, our very first auction from the studio for folks who might be interested. We'll talk more about Agent Workroom on Monday evening at 5:30 Eastern Time. Catch me here on Twitch, or you can catch me on YouTube or LinkedIn Live. We're going to be live in all of those places here as we go forward. And I noticed one quick thing I'm going to do here. I have not, I don't have my social follow buttons here. So it turns out I do actually have them. I just haven't published that version of my website. So let me go over here and do that really quickly so that you know where you can follow me. And this is our long session. So we're here for an hour, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm going to be playing a little bit of music here in the background. My preview's not loading, but I think it will if I'm patient. I'm just going to give this a quick update. It says it's updated. All right. Maybe I just need to refresh. Oh, no, I know what it is. When I'm watching, it doesn't show my social icons. Let's talk to this. Whenever I am live, my social icons disappear. I have a Twitch icon, but I do not have YouTube and LinkedIn. Can we add those when I'm live? Hey, Dickie2306. Thanks for hanging out with me today. So one of the things that I'll talk a little bit about in the stream today, and maybe tomorrow a little bit more in depth, I've been working to build some tools to help streamline the development process. If you can imagine, a one-off prompt like this is going to yield the kind of results that we want, but it is a slow moving build. If I were to ask for every one little thing that I wanted, it'd take us a year to build this thing. So what we want to do is not do it piecemeal like this, but Will Melton Studio is pretty well baked at this point. There's probably some other things that we could do for this, but for now, um, that was what I was looking for. So I'll go ahead and publish this and hit update. And I need to review my security, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because I want to show you guys good hygiene here. You're going to be publishing these things online, and so you want to make sure that you're not publishing information that's shouldn't be revealed to the web, personally identifiable information. And what's largely happening here is that we're building a database, right? We're building tables to house all this information, whether it's user information so that people can access the website, or if it's data. In this particular case, it is information about people who are watching the applications that I have in the studio. And what's going to happen ultimately is these tables are going to get protected by something called row level security that will provide for security at the row level within those tables, ensuring that those rows can only be accessed by those who are entitled. So I'm going to go ahead and just let Lovable work on this problem that we have here. This is a small issue. The sample data has my email in there. A lot of times when you build these apps, it's going to put some data in so that you can see something in the interface. And that is, generally speaking, going to get cleaned up whenever the thing gets built. But that doesn't always happen. So we'll come in here and take a look at these warnings another time. But now that we've cleared that error, I'm going to go ahead and update again to make sure that the latest build is secure and everything is good there. Can I explain my thought process on selecting Lovable as a platform? Yes. It wasn't a lot that went into it. I probably started using Lovable in May. There were others, but Lovable was the first to $100 million in recurring revenue. And generally speaking, popularity can indicate some kind of performance. I can say that over time it has been bumpy. It hasn't always been incredibly reliable, and there are times, even more recently, where it can slow down, or connectivity to other services can sometimes disrupt functionality. Recently, there was an issue with GitHub, but if your project was tied to GitHub, it could have had some problems. But if you were tied to GitHub in any other builder, you would be having those same problems. So that kind of thing wouldn't necessarily have an impact on decision. But I have also built software using VS Code and leveraging Copilot to be able to do that. So mostly WordPress plugins. But what I have found is, just from a technology standpoint, Lovable is building in React or TypeScript, and that is a fast application. It's a really great foundational technology that runs a ton of services that you use every day. You might not know it, but things like Uber and Airbnb and Facebook and Instagram, and I could go down a whole long list of websites that are all built using React and TypeScript. So for me, I think what I care about most is it secure? Is it stable? Can I build? Can I get a usable tool out to the public to be able to interface with and do all the things that it promises to do? And quite frankly, I've been able to build everything that I've set out to build, and I have had some heartache here and there when trying to make things work, but by and large, those things can be overcome. And I've learned more than anything about how to be a good steward to the tool and how to work with it, as opposed to thinking of it as an employee, or slave. Sometimes these things can be very frustrating, and you can feel like you want to yell at them. But I have found that taking that stance, taking a reactive stance, is not going to produce great software. It's going to focus the attention of the AI on the problem, not on building great software. So I have found that just focusing on building, just focusing on getting something built up, is a big way to move forward. And so when I talk about these one-off tasks, I don't like doing them because it can, again, it diverts the attention of the AI more toward the task and less toward what we're trying to build. So one of the things that you're going to see, this is Sous Chef AI. So let me talk about the business here a little bit. If you are a busy business person, um, it is sometimes tough to navigate the home chores. There's more than just cooking, but for the sake of it, I'm thinking if I had to choose how to spend my time, is it going to be cooking dinner? Is it going to be enjoying, uh, a little bit of downtime in the evening? I'm going to choose enjoying the downtime. And this app is for chefs and for people who are looking for that level of service. And the way that this business works is you can pick your level of service. So if you want to have a chef who is helping you plan your meals and make sure that you are getting a balanced diet that meets your dietary restrictions, then the chef can be tuned into those dietary restrictions, know what the preferences of those folks are, present recipes for approval, and build shopping lists. And we can use AI to speed up a lot of those things from a process standpoint. But more than anything, what matters is great recipes that are tailored toward the user. As we gather those recipes and build them up, it makes sense to create a library of these things. And so we're going to work on doing that too. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But once you get your meal selected, you have your shopping list, and then you have your shopping to do, and then perhaps that ties into Instacart so that you don't actually have to do the shopping. And then you have meal prep, and putting the groceries away, and maybe even cooking. And different people have different time constraints and different financial ability. So some folks might not necessarily want to have you cooking their meal, but they do want you to handle the ideas around what's going to get cooked and what is going to need to be purchased from the store. So this application is designed to do that. It is at some stage of development. I don't actually know how functional it is because for the last couple of days, I have just been moving through the product roadmap to advance the sprints. I'll show you how I do that here in just a minute, and I will just quickly find out where we are at with things. So if we have things that are under review, it means that it's been processed. It doesn't look like there's anything there. Let me see if there's anything in progress. So we do have something in progress. Imagine that we probably have some things that say that they are completed, but I could be wrong about that too. One implemented item. So I'm not going to take my time to go through and read all these things. I will tell you here in just a minute after I activate Lovable how I got all of these things in here so that you can have that visibility if you missed me last week. But here we go. Please go ahead and tee up the next sprint. Move items to in progress, so that they can be worked on. I want to have an aggressive sprint here, so let's go ahead and make sure that we are adding as many logical tasks as possible, and let's make sure that we're being efficient and effective with this. So build things in the order that they should be built in based on dependencies. Go ahead. When you're done, move them to in review so that I can take a look. So I have found myself repeating these same words more or less time and time again as I advance through these sprints, and I find that to be rather repetitive. And I also think to myself, if I'm doing a hands-off build, if I'm not necessarily checking every little thing because I know we're not done yet, then I don't necessarily need to uh, pause and check and see what needs to happen and kind of fiddle with each of these roadmap items individually. What I can do is I can just push, push, push and get as much code developed as possible. And when all the different pieces are hooked in and all the different views have been built and all the different functionalities there, then it makes a bit more sense for me to start thinking about what works, what doesn't work, where we have some problems in the UX or the UI, and begin to make those refinements, because the core of what we're trying to build has been built, and the AI is going to have visibility of that core and the business that we're building. So the refinements will become more attuned to the end goal, and a little bit less about uh, the micro details. So here it is. It says it's moved 5 items to under review from sprint 6. That was pretty quick. But I actually think that it didn't work on anything. So let me just check. My intention was to have you actually code the product roadmap items. If you've moved things to in review, they need to be in progress, and I need to make sure that you are coding those items. Only after you've coded the items do you move them to under review. So the way that I have been getting to these builds, both from an ideas perspective and then also to uh, the coding perspective. So the first thing is always the business problem. So thinking about what issue you're facing. I mentioned earlier what the issue was for this. And then once you have the issue established, you can start to think about the solution. And when you start to get at the solution just a little bit, a lot of the other pieces of the solution start to reveal themselves. So you say, okay, we're going to do an Uber for Home Chef. Okay, so who are the stakeholders in this build? Who are going to be the people that need to get paid? Who are the people who are going to show up to use the app so that the app itself can make money? And what's the value case for the user, the person who's actually paying the money to get that benefit? Once you've figured out who those stakeholders are, you can stitch together a pretty good business plan. Doesn't have to be super complicated. You don't have to figure out the pricing. That can all come later, because if you think about it, what you're doing at this stage is prototyping and proving a model and refining it. But you're going to need investors. You're going to need some money to be able to make these things go. Or maybe you have money and you've got time and you can just work on them. But there's going to be real investment that goes into making these businesses viable. They're going to need marketing investment. We're going to need to find ways to bring users to these products. So those are realities that can't be ignored. But at this stage, building is going to help you have a prototype to show to an investor and prove that out and really make it tangible. I'll give you a quick story. I have historically struggled to sell um, products that can be rather expensive. People don't always think to themselves, well, that's a good use for my money. They have a lot of different things that compete for their money. And, it can be difficult to convey in somebody's mind, to somebody's mind, how one of these things can really help them. So showing people can oftentimes be a much better way of going about it. And for this one particular case in the past couple of weeks, I said, let me go ahead and skin one of these and build something up for a client and show him what it can do and show him all the features and get him excited. And so we built no back end. We just did the views, kind of like what you see here as we click through this dashboard and see everything that's in here. And so that was all we did, and that was enough to be able to get the ideas rolling up and make it seem like something that's worth investing in. So what you can see here is some of these views aren't loading, and it's because we're still in the middle of our sprints, and so there's not going to be a ton I can show you. I could tell you a few things that I find as I click through here, and I can give you an example here. This is a good page. This is pretty simple. But from a design perspective, it is nice. It looks good. There's no space at the bottom of this form. There should be a little bit of space down there to make this totally balanced. But that's kind of a standard that we want to go for. When you look at some of these other ones, they are a little bit flatter. There's some strange bounding boxes. There's no padding. There's no color. It's kind of flat. So we're going to come back through here and effectively improve this whole view, but I'm not going to do that right away. We're going to do this in one clean swoop later because I have found, again, doing these one-off edits is just not going to do it. It's not going to be a great use of your time. So while we let that go, I'm going to show you one other thing that I'm working on that I think that you like. If you're a developer, if you're looking to accelerate your development pipeline, I can show you a little bit about my next phase of improvement to my roadmap. So, what you might have picked up on with Sous Chef is that I do have the roadmap built right into the product. What that enables me to do is it allows me to actually have Lovable, as you heard me earlier, just talk to the app and look for what's in the roadmap and read what's in the roadmap and respond to that based on my limited instructions. So some of the work here is in getting these roadmap items as detailed as possible. Some of these don't have a lot of detail here because they're smaller relative to the detail of the build. But you don't have to type all that stuff out. You can use AI for it. So I'm usually verbalizing into voice memos first and saying, here are all the things that I think about. Here's the business case. Here are the stakeholders. Here's how I want the app to work. And I might not have all the ideas, so I might still come back and say, what are some things that we could do to make this better? I take both that transcript as well as the output that I get from usually ChatGPT, where I'm asking for a work plan for Lovable. I give it both. I give it my verbalization and I give it the work plan that ChatGPT spit out. And I just paste those into Lovable to start the build. Now, a couple of things I mentioned in previous sessions, and I'll mention it again here today. You always want to make sure you tell it if you have the need to have users and authorization, because that's going to be something that is part and parcel to the entirety of it. And a lot of that row level security stuff I was talking about earlier is going to be dictated by those users and what level of access they should have and everything else. That's really important. Another one is Stripe, if you're going to be building in payments. And Stripe's one, there are others, but Stripe's developers' favorite. So those two things, you want to make sure you tell Lovable in the very beginning that you're going to be doing those two things if you're going to be doing them. And you also want to give it a little bit of design instruction. That always helps to be able to have a good looking thing from the get go. And as you can see, there's room for improvement on this, but for the overall uh, feel of this is good. I'm happy with it, and it didn't take much to get there. I think the first build was pretty clean. All right, so let me show you my latest product roadmap, and this one's going through a few different phases. So I'm trying to figure out how best to do this, but essentially it's all the same functionality as all the other roadmaps that I've built into anything else. However, I'm seeing some things are missing here. Like normally I'm building in like a voice to text microphone button so that we don't have to type. But because I'm really not interacting with these roadmap items directly anymore and I'm using AI to interact with them, I've decided that that might not be something that we need to focus on. But I do like to have those features, and so we'll probably add it because as we add this tool to other builds, we want our users who might not be developers, people who are just logged into these products, to be able to add product roadmap items and express interest in having features. Whether they actually get built or not can be decided on later, but allowing for multiple users to be able to populate the roadmap is definitely important, and not everybody is going to have access to Lovable. So that's one thing to be mindful of. And so I'm going to be working to take every feature that was built into any other product roadmap and bring that over to future projects. But right now we're working on making this a little bit of a faster process. And so there's a few different things that are going to happen here, and this sprint dashboard has been one of the things that I have struggled a little bit with in understanding how best to use this. Because at the time, right now, this is still a manual process. So we're going to be taking these sprint items and moving them up to the sprint queue, and that's on the left here, but it's also on the right. And so why am I seeing it on the left and also on the right? I don't know. I do know that I can reorder these things on this side and let that impact things. But again, it doesn't make sense why I'm seeing it in two places. I haven't been able to figure that out. I can also tell you that some of these things I haven't been able to test yet, and some of these things don't make sense. Like I don't need to download the sprint plan. Uh, I do think that estimating the time can be worthwhile, just if you're trying to understand the impact of all this stuff on your business. And what we do with this is I'm estimating how long do I think it's going to take for AI to build this, and then if a human developer were to build it, what would be the time that it would take them? Now, we're not charging for these apps here, so this isn't as important. But it is important that if you're building anything, you come up with a paid model to make sure that you're compensated for the work. And any more selling your time might not be the best way. So, value based pricing can oftentimes be a better pathway. But this can be insightful to somebody to kind of understand, how long is it going to take to move through these things, and how long might it take somebody else, a person, to do it. So that's something that I put in there. Don't know if it's going to add a lot of value for us, but it is there. And then we can also auto prioritize these based on um, dependencies and impact and context. So we can let AI do some of the work for us here. This has actually taken a little while. Um, I don't like the pace of that, but if we're doing that just every once in a while, I think that's okay. And then what I get here is I get a prompt to be able to copy and paste to be able to execute on the sprint. Now, what I'm seeing here is that it is only generating a prompt for one of the roadmap items, not the entire sprint. So everything that I've done so far in this is almost unusable. And I have flagged this in a recent prompt to Lovable, but I still haven't seen what I want to see. And so, what I want to do right now, instead of continuing to focus on what this is, the sprint dashboard, I'm going to just verbalize again to Lovable what it is that I'm kind of experiencing here. And hopefully, we can get it to give us some ideas about how we can do this a little bit better. So currently, the way that I manage my product roadmap with Lovable is I tell Lovable that I want it to select which tasks it's going to add to a sprint and move those tasks to the in progress roadmap item status. And then once it's coded them, so once it's in progress, it codes them. After that, it moves to in review for human review, and we can move on to the next sprint. It In my experience, Lovable will work on those tasks one at a time or in parallel and do everything as told. And that's an incredibly fast process, but it's still manual. I'm still having to prompt it that every single time. Right now, we have a new sprint dashboard that makes the work very manual, and it is slowing us down, not speeding us up. Given the information that I've shared with you about my current process and how effective we've been with that, and the complaint that I have about the sprint dashboard, give me some ideas about ways that we can increase the speed of development by interfacing with the product roadmap using Lovable, but perhaps generating a prompt with a single click to prevent me from having to read the same thing over and over again. Maybe I'm overcomplicating it with this sprint dashboard, so give me some ideas. Okay, so sometimes I have clarity over what it is that I'm trying to do. Sometimes I absolutely do not. And so asking questions is a good way to try to find the answer. And you can use Lovable just like you would any other AI tool. Chat function here does prevents it from doing any coding, so it's just going to think about this and give us some ideas. And while it does that, I'll pop back over here and see where we're at with the roadmap. So looks like they've moved everything to under review. And again, I'm not going to go check all that stuff. What I'm going to do here is prompt it one more time. Let's go ahead and tee up the next sprint, moving the items that we're going to work on to in progress. code those items, and when you're confident that they're done, move them to in review for human review. I could just be pasting that prompt from a notes app or something, and that would probably be faster. But it's the principle of the process and being able to integrate the process into an automated system that I'm aiming for. And the thing that we're faced with right now is Lovable does have an API, but it's very limited in what it does. It doesn't do what I want it to do, which is allowing us to be able to actually have our app itself interface with the Lovable UI. That is going to come. I don't know how soon. If anybody from Lovable is watching this, please work on that. It would be cool. But yeah, no, I think we're hopeful that those things will happen pretty soon. So I happened to realize that I did not go live on my streaming services. So I'm going to see if I can't make that happen. Okay, maybe I am live now. So all right. So let me just see what we've got going on here. I've been going at this for about 30 minutes. If you're new to the stream, my name is Will Melton. I own a little agency here in Richmond, Virginia called Exponent 21, and we do a lot of different things. We're pretty uh, forward on AI. We're very much using it very heavily and trying our best to be smart about it and responsible about it. But we have been using it to write content, and we've been using it to optimize our clients' websites and their brands for large language models and AI overviews. That is all in service to the future. We've got a future here that is, uncertain to some degree, but at the same time, we have some visibility. We know that things are changing, so we need to change, and we have tools that we can use to play and to get better. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, we build a lot of software. We build websites. We build tools for clients. We are helping with campaigns on the ad platforms, really all over the place. Okay, so we're moving pretty quickly on this one because, again, I haven't intervened too much. So we're going to go ahead and just tee up the next sprint. And I'm just going to say start sprint 8. Um, and just please be sure to move the items to in progress before you start and move them to in review when you're done. So, sorry for my little pause there. I'm still trying to figure out my software, make sure that I know what I'm doing. I'm using OBS to get these streams up there, and not my first time live streaming, but my first couple of times live streaming with OBS. All right, so let's talk about Margin Call. So, Margin Call is an app that I built to help me finish my book. So, I have about 50,000 words written, and I am having a hard time actually organizing it. I have a lot of redundancies. I did use AI to help me assemble the book initially and capture my stories, capture my notes, capture everything that I wanted to say, and assist with some word assembly. But it did make some redundancies and create some problems for me. So I'm going to start over to the beginning of this project and just show you the homepage and show you what we built. and see if this resonates with anybody out there who's maybe started a book or is thinking about starting a book. So the core concept of this is that it is for authors and um, coaches and editors and publishers. So those are our stakeholders in this business. First and foremost, we can import our manuscript, and AI will automatically identify the outline based on the headings in your document. And based on that, it's going to split them out. It gives you some options for how you split out those sections, chapters, however you want to do that, so that you can get as granular as you want to on the ordering. Once you've ordered that around, you can, or even beforehand, you can do a redundancy analysis. So the sections are now separated. AI will be able to determine if there's any overlap or redundancies. One of the coolest things about this is that it does an audio book for your manuscript. So you actually can listen to the book that is loaded into this application, and you can pause it right any place you want to leave a note. You can pause it and leave a voice note on that for follow up later, and you can come back and make your edits later on. We'll do some things to make that a little bit faster so that the actual voice notes get converted to text, and maybe some of those edits can be applied automatically. But in the beginning, we're really just focused on me being able to move through the manuscript pretty quickly without having to pause and stop and edit, because that, from my perspective, has been one of the biggest time sucks in the process, and it's an impediment. It's something that it kind of makes me a little bit uh, what's the word? Impatient. All right, so okay, okay. So I'm still poking around up here at OBS, trying to make sure I'm doing it right. Uh, for those of you who are looking to do something similar to this, Twitch, you stream directly to Twitch, but with LinkedIn and YouTube, you have to start an event. So I'm not sure that anybody is able to hang out with me here today. So we'll fix that up for tomorrow, but learning as we go here a little bit. All right. So, yeah, so professional export, yeah, that's important, but there's a few other cool things that this is going to do. So, authors upload their manuscript. Editors have the ability to get in there and edit the book. Coaches can leave their feedback as they listen through. And then for an author who has finished a pitch or perhaps has a few chapters ready to review, they can put that into a repository or a gallery, if you will, of manuscripts for publishers to be able to review and potentially request access to those for publishing and deeper review. And so, a lot of times I build the marketing side of things first so that we can have clarity for outside audiences as to what it is, and we can convey really simply in both these recordings and in other cases um, what it takes to get there and what it is ultimately that we're trying to build. So that's why you see a lot of things here. It talks about features that may not exist yet, and the other thing about that too is we'll have to come back and update this, because as I build, I come up with new ideas and think about ways that we might be able to take things to the next level. So one of our more recent additions to this is we're going to be building in a pitch uh, a pitch tool, so you can build a pitch right into your book. Now, I actually do have that already. I just haven't tested it out yet. So we have the pitch wizard that will actually walk you through that. I'll click on this and just show you. It's pretty straightforward and how easy it is to get there. And then you should have the ability to edit the pitch, just straightforward. Now I can't scroll up and down on this, so there's some issues we'll have to address. I just tabbed to get to that, but we'll work on those things in a future refinement. But you can see here where the manuscript is sectioned out. You can see the notes that get left by you or by your coach, and the strategy element is being leveraged by AI to think about order and impact of the content itself. So I haven't. I've done a couple of uploads to this so far just to test it out and see how it goes. My very first upload, it just had random sections in here, and it didn't actually say what the section was. I didn't find that to be super helpful. So while I can see it over here, it's just not helpful that it said section one, section two, section three. So what I did was just make it so that it's more cognizant of what those sections are, and it can effectively identify what those headings are going to be. Now, within these, here we have folders. That's kind of like high level sections of your book or acts, if you will. And then within these, you can get pretty granular with this and toggle. I think we'll probably add something that lets you toggle between um, sort of the sections within a chapter as well as the chapters themselves and the folders themselves. Let's see what AI Analyze does. So we can either analyze the outline to look and see if things make sense. We can check for redundancy, and not sure about the difference between a redundancy and a cross-section overlap, so that might not necessarily be useful. But let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play this and see if it actually plays. I'm not sure that it will. I haven't tested this yet. Yeah, it's not playing anything, and even the pause function isn't working, so we know that it's not working. Okay, so while that is not functional, I'll just ask this to go ahead and work on the next sprint. We'll take a look at the product roadmap just to get a sense for where we're at with this build. Book Pitch Wizard, that is in review. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is in review. Google Docs integration. A lot of times the integrations I'll wait to do because you're going to have to snag some API keys, and there's some hoops you've got to jump through for that. I recently looped in Asana with my product roadmap manager because I wanted to have visibility in our primary tracking software, project management software. And it took a little bit of time to get there. There's definitely a single task execution. Some of these things are more complicated, especially the APIs. But let's see what else we have. Keyboard shortcuts. I don't know that that's as important to me, but I can certainly see a power user enjoying those features. Set up email capture for wait list. This might be on hold again because we've got to get some resend keys in there. But I'm looking for. There's not much left. So what I'm going to do is just say, let's go ahead and tee up the final tasks in the product roadmap so that we can finalize this. I also want to address the issue with the player because at present it is not playing anything and you cannot pause it. All right, so some of these builds can take a little while, and I've noticed that Lovable is sometimes a little slow. Today it seems like it's moving pretty quickly, but I'm gonna check this out and just see where we're at with each of these and just keep moving along. We'll just let Sprint 9 start. It's trying to move Sprint 8 to released. It thinks it's helping me with that, but no, I haven't actually checked those sprints yet. So I'll just know to check everything that's also in released. I think that it's a little bit more. Um, if you're not checking everything, it's probably fine for them all to be in released, but it's not an actual status, so it doesn't make me happy. And here we are. It's going to ask for Stripe integration, so I'll need to go get a key really quickly. Let me go do that in a different window. All right. So in Stripe, I don't set up Stripe accounts for each of these products because I'm not going to actually run this business. I might sell it to somebody else. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sandbox that I can use inside of Stripe so that I can isolate the data from this application from live data and or other apps that I'm building. So this is sous chef AI. And get my API key. Okay, so just paste this in here so that we can keep moving. And while that's working, I'm going to stop into margin call and see where we're at with that. All right, so it says it fixed things, so let's go back in and see what happens if I play this. So the API that we're using for the voice playback is 11 Labs API. And 11 Labs API does a whole lot. It's pretty cool. Although some of the things that it does can also be pretty costly.
By
So
Will Melton. Part 1. The confidence to believe in yourself. Introduction. The journey from survival to significance. My brother, my sister, and I were all huddled together under several blankets on the couch, trying to keep...
okay, so I figured out what happened. I think it just took a long time to generate the audio from this. But let's see what happens.
warm. I must have been around 10 years old. We ran out of heating oil that night, and it wouldn't be until the next day at the earliest that we could get a refill. We hung...
And it looks like toggling between sections is also maybe not saving the audio for that. So one of the things that I'm going to check on right now is the 11 Labs API and just see what my usage looks like because it is likely going to be high. Yes, it's off the charts. 8,000, 9,000 credits used right there for that transcription. Now let's go take a look at my billing so that we know what we've got. So yeah, if a chapter is going to burn through about 8,000 credits, 9,000 credits.
They're all huddled together under several blankets on the by Will Melton. Part 1. The confidence to believe in yourself. Introduction. The journey from survival to significance.
Okay, so I was telling you guys a little bit about this problem with the cost for 11 Labs to read these things back. This has been something that's been in the back of my mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to verbalize that to Lovable and see what we can't do about it, and also make sure that we're not recreating the wheel. So currently, it is costing quite a bit of credits on 11 Labs to be able to transcribe these manuscript sections. And so there's a couple of things that I think are really important here. One, I want to make sure that we're saving the audio files that we transcribe or that we convert to audio, so that we're not regenerating those a second time. If we have audio file, we want to keep it. I also want to chunk out the audio a little bit more, um, so that we can maintain those audio versions between edits. So, for instance, if I want to edit this paragraph on top here, uh, I don't have to regenerate the audio for the entire chapter. I can regenerate the audio um, just for that paragraph. And then what we can do is we can track whether or not the text has been edited since the audio was generated. Um, the other thing that this can help with is if we're doing paragraph level uh, audio generations, then we can actually start playing sooner and then just kind of generate paragraph by paragraph. One of the things that I want to do as well is I need to have the ability to uh, scan back and forth in the script. So I need a player bar that is pretty long so that I can um, kind of advance back and forth, um, just like you would in any other audio player. And then what I want to do is I want to have some kind of indicator whenever the transcription or whenever the voice generation is happening so that we can see which sections the voice has been generated for, and also watch it kind of advance down the screen so that we can begin playing. I also want to be able to click on a paragraph um, when it is playing and have it play just that paragraph. It could be helpful to also illuminate which paragraph is being played whenever the voice is talking. That could be a complicated challenge because you then have to listen as well, but maybe it's not that hard. What ideas do you have to help this be a bit smoother and manageable from a cost perspective? So, if we go back to the business side of things, one of the things that you have to do is figure out where your costs are. And so, if a big part of our cost is going to be in these credits to generate these voices, that could be a sustainability issue that we have to take under consideration. So, just to give you a sense for cost over here, I could get 11 million credits for $1,320 a month. I have to have a lot of users using it, and the other thing too is maybe leveraging the turbo or flash model. But we also want the quality to be good. So those are all things that we'll need to balance. And it may be that perhaps the audio book feature is a premium feature that somebody, they're going to have to pay for compute to be able to use that functionality, which maybe they don't have any problem with that. I'm paying a book coach not a small amount of money to help me. So it's if it's worth it, then it can work. But those are decisions that we'll need to make a little bit later on in the business to be able to make it viable and sustainable. So we're getting close to the end of our hour today. I'm going to wrap up here pretty soon. Don't have bunch of deadlines on these apps, so we'll probably pick back up tomorrow where we left off. I might make a little bit of progress on just finishing up a couple of these things here and just seeing what things happen. But we'll ride out till 2 o'clock. We might run over a little bit, but just as a quick touch base, if you're new and you didn't join us early on, hop over to studio.willmelton.com. You can see what we're building. I haven't added these two apps, and I haven't added my product roadmap yet because this is really just a chunk of everything else. But you can see some of the other things that we've built, some things that we do have in production. Carl is our internal app that we use to manage AI search optimization for our clients. Discover AIO is a community for people who want to learn how to optimize for large language models. So we have a course over there that you can take, and you can author on the platform. So you can build your own authority and get visibility in large language models yourself if that's something you're interested in. We also have, let's see, everything else in here is AI Ready RVA's production. That one's went live about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe now. And then we'll talk about some of these other things that we're building in future sessions. I've got a show and tell on Monday, and we'll Monday 5 o'clock, 5:30 Monday. It's going to be yeah, we'll do show and tell. We'll build a little bit, but I think what we're going to primarily be working on is just showing you some of these apps that are out there. We'll dig into Agent Workroom a little bit. I might actually advance this roadmap a little bit before we do, so that that business is just a little bit more valuable for whoever ends up picking it up in February. All right. Let's just check on these one more time before we wrap up. It's asking me a question. It wants to list products, but I don't have any products listed in there, so that's fine. Let's see. Should I proceed with implementing this system? Okay, let's see what it said. Paragraph level audio caching. Progressive playback makes sense. Seek bar, paragraph indicators. Okay, this is a great plan, but I think that because of the potential for runaway costs here, I want to absolutely make sure that this feature is something that has a cost to the user. Perhaps they get a certain number of credits at the foundation, but in order to get the full impact, they're going to need to pay a little bit more for that. With that said, a wise customer is not going to just be willy-nilly letting this thing transcribe or convert to text or to voice all the time. They're going to want to do it in sections as they listen. So I want to make sure that we are giving them control over what gets transcribed. And I also need to make sure that they understand that transcribing a section is going to cost money. So it's important, I think, that we separate the play button from the transcribe function. Play only plays existing existing voice readouts, and the convert to voice button is a one-time action that can be done either at a chapter level or perhaps a paragraph level. Let's come up with something that's logical, that has a smart UI, makes it easy for users to be in control. Go ahead and update the plan. Since this one is, since I gave it a pretty extensive uh, direction and it gave me pretty extensive architecture, I'm going to let it rebuild that same architecture a second time, because what I don't want to have happen is this focus on this one thing that I asked for to derail its overall planning. This is talking about the subscription here. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll come back and change the pricing later. So keep in mind, anytime you're going to be generating audio and storing it, it's going to add to your storage costs. That's, anytime you invite users into an environment, you want to make sure that you're prepared to scale it. That's something that you need to have developers help you with. So even if you buy one of these things, it's not like you'll be able to just run it all on your own unless you're super advanced. It does take a team, but you could probably take it pretty far. But if it generates the money, then it's good. Let it generate the money and hire the people you need to do the job. Okay, so this is actually something I need to make progress on because I am behind schedule on my book. I was supposed to finish at the end of the year. I've already started on a second book that has a bit more clarity and direction. So we're going to be working on that, and we're going to start with the pitch and see if we can't get it picked up by a publisher while we self-publish the first book. So I'll tell you more about this as we move forward, and likely to be able to use this tool. I've already invited my book coach into it so she can see what I'm writing and she can leave notes behind and play with it a little bit. But this one's pretty close, I would say, from a functionality perspective. I think there's going to be some refinements that we're going to want to apply to this to make it viable. But I think that from out of the gate, this just has instant value for everybody in the ecosystem. Every stakeholder can put it to use, and it can help every stakeholder create value for themselves and their lives. So I'm excited about this. Hopefully, I can find somebody to pick it up from me because I don't want to manage this business. But worst case scenario, I will absolutely use it to move through more book builds, book writing. All right, so that was it. That was it. My music ran out, and so I think that means that it's time to call it quits. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you again tomorrow, Sunday, the 25th at 10 a.m. And I will actually go live this time on YouTube and LinkedIn because I missed it and don't want you guys to be left out. All right. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.